go. We are in Lijiang right now. Have a look at what the opening lineups are going to be. Potentially quite tank heavy on the side of Xavier at least, which for a map like Night Market would be quite interesting, especially when you consider that CKM is ready to go with the counter on the Pharah. Huss versus Paddy Pan, Widow versus Widow matchup that could be very defining of how this early phase goes. But Xavier, you can sort of see Queen's positioning, wants to get in the face of Blank quite quickly. Trill's going to respond in kind. Paddy Pan will get first blood on Huss though, so Blank already at a member disadvantage, already at a bit of a deficit. Points unlocking in 1 second here. Might be able to find the counter trade as Trill does indeed get that. So who gets the better of this one? THK rather will back off, but the point does go over to Xavier Esports. Blank now, going to see if they can come in slightly late, but definitely with the statement. This has been 4 kills in a row. No response from Xavier. Paddy Pan was the first member to go down. That did come back as the respawner, but not going to be able to help his team in time. If he can maybe find some exit picks on his way back to base, that would be ideal. But like Esports, going to be taking a lot of ground here, giving us some angles to work with CKM now as well. Onto the side, Kiki. Scouting targets, scouting targets for both Huss and teammate Tung. Triple kill, easy as you like it. Xavier now back to base once more. Blank gonna collect a bit more percentage here. Decent amount of percentage in terms of the lead. And even more decent is the ultimate advantage here. Nearly at 6 full ultimate. Xavier only just got there first, coming up to 2. And it's not gonna be quite enough for Xavier to really do too much, especially if CKM can get something done with this Barra. Trill already down is unfortunate, especially when considering that he didn't quite have the Primal Rage. Doesn't appear to have the Resurrection from Kura either, maybe not in a resolve position. And suddenly things are going south quite quickly for Blank Esports. Kiki didn't use the self-destruct there. So, despite having a fairly decent lead, I mean, Infrasight used by Huss, but the other members, again, Trill dying before Primal came up. Kiki didn't self-destruct, so he couldn't remake. Both the tanks were kind of out of the fight by the time that Trill came back in. Blank were already backing out, so a hugely winnable fight. That's just not going to go their way. CKM foregoing his barrage entirely to go on to the Tracer. So the new pick that we've seen him on, at least recently, did have some pretty good showings of it in some of the previous matches. See what kind of pressure he can find. Trill straight onto Paddy Pan. There it is, another 3 quick kills from Blank Esports, and they're already onto the point. Cap that one over, find and get further kills on members of the Xavier Esports that are trying to maintain their lives. But it's not going to happen. 3 more members going down. That's going to end that fight entirely. Full team wipe. That's not the concerning part. I want to see what Blank can do when they have the lead, because so far they've sort of won these neutral fights. They've sort of won when maybe they don't get a super ideal start, but you know, you got to go back to the fact that they had a huge lead that they couldn't really win off of, and currently 1-1. The band does get rezzed back into the fray. Xavier still have plenty of ultimates to work with. Tung unfortunately didn't get to use trance there. Blank should be able to get up to 100%, should be able to, rather 99%. But you shouldn't expect Xavier to lose, as Xavier had been in the lead mostly. Here comes that self-destruct finally for Kiki. There will be enough time to get off the point, dodge the self-destruct, and still contest. And with that, Blank Esports, despite getting into the overtime, gonna have to go for another attempt. This has been probably a little bit more even than Blank anticipated. And now Xavier in a winning position, at least in terms of the economy here. 5 ultimates, Infrasight ready to go. THK under pressure, but should be able to get out safely. And that's not going to be a Dragon E coming up from Kiki. Not this time. He's not playing against Adam, but he is still going to need to look what's going to happen in this next push, because we are losing a decent amount of time. Yeah, members did come back up, so Blank have their full lineup ready to go, but this is going to be the last attempt. He's only got 1 more attempt before Xavier also forces overtime, which you expect to happen. Tung's probably going to have trance here. Tung cannot afford to die in this scenario. Double support ultimates being used by the Blank Esports side. Already losing Huss. It's going to have to force the res out reasonably early. And maybe not at all if Kura can't afford to get back to Huss. Xavier going to try and do their best right now. Already getting themselves a kill onto Tung. That means both Zens are going to be down for the count. One of them is going to come back in, though. Blank seem to be struggling there, not finding enough targets. Trill is desperately trying to keep this point alive, but he's eventually going to go down as well. It's down to CKM with the Pulse Bomb. He's going to force a self-destruct out, but no one from Blank can get back into point in time. And you got to say, in the middle there, a lot of time kind of wasted. Xavier kept, well, after Blank had their first 99, Xavier kept it about roughly 50-ish% mark, maybe 60. Blank kind of waited a bit too long in that section. Started a fight at around 90%, lost her super early. Kura didn't go back for the res, but probably also couldn't go back for the res. Blank are already committed. They got to play the 5v6 at that stage. Valkyrie's already popped. You don't want to spend a chunk of your Valkyrie sitting on a dead player. Tung forced to pop the trance at an unideal time as well. Near his own spawn. Blank just couldn't find the value. It's a new map though. It's a new day. New stage of Lijiang Tower. Control center with Huss onto the McCree. Xavier going to play shield tanks plus grab dragon combo, grab barrage combo maybe even. Both teams have a fire, but only one team has a true hit scan counter, so it's kind of up to Huss here to see if he can find an opening for his team. But Xavier being very aggressive on this opening point. Most of their members are already taking control here as the point does open at 4. Xavier members now down to 3. Now permanently down to 5, at least for the time being, unless Dreamer can get this res, but he's under pressure as well. So much pressure that CKM's going to take him down, and despite the fact that Xavier got the initial cap, Blank, with a bit of patience, and this time patience does pay off for them as a virtue, do get enough kills to stop Xavier, do get enough kills, and are still getting kills to really put Xavier behind. 12% is not nearly enough for Xavier to do much with for the time being. That's 12 for now for Blank as well. Ultimate advantage in favor of Blank. Spawn control in favor of Blank. Tank ult's about to come up online. They are giving some space away, waiting for the tanks to get their ults. Huss has still got a decent enough position to maybe look for a Deadeye, but not while he's that low, and it's going to be an early Valk coming up from both sides. But it will be up to Trill. Can he find the Shadow to make the play? Or maybe Huss can get a flank around the side. There's a lot of options available for Blank Esports, and that's the exciting thing. Huss with the kill to Dreamer is going to start things off pretty nicely, but CKM going down is definitely not what Blank are looking for. Tung still has his trance available, and he has to consider using it. He does, because so many Blank members have already gone down. And even if Blank lose this right now, which they are currently losing, they will lose this fight. They did force a lot of ultimates out, so still worth it. 55% to 14. Both grab dragons had to be used there. Barrage had to be used there. Xavier completely empty. 39%, rather 48 now. Did hit some shots there from Tay at the end. The highest charge on the Xavier side. Blank still have a grab to play with. They themselves are still kind of running on dry, but they have a lot more tools than Xavier do, so that's something. They also have a bit more time as well. Xavier likely able to make time here in terms of percentage. He comes at grab, but we need to see some kills. 2 will get things started. 4 should certainly end things up now. Dreamer's going to try to get a res in there. Probably best for him to not have that res. An extra player which just would mean another stagger. Would mean more ultimate charge for Blank. Xavier do not even overtake Blank's percentage points. Unfortunate. Blank off the back of 1 ultimate. Will win a fight. Will charge more ultimates. Xavier need more. Xavier need to find more in terms of picks, and they get that one. It's not quite visible there. You can see Huss's body is being somewhat camped, which makes it difficult for Kura to get in. Now with Tung down as well at 88%. Kind of just before the Transcendence is going to spell a bit of trouble here. CKM are looking for the rescue play. Tung coming back into the fray means we might still see this Transcendence come out. As for Xavier Esports, they may have picked up too many members already. This may already be a little bit too insurmountable for Blank to come back in, at least for this fight. 94% you'll take it. What Blank won't be too pleased with is the fact that Xavier have a decent bank worth of ultimates right now. Nothing too extreme though. Blank will be able to match. In fact, they already have matched. They'll be able to overtake in a second once Kiki gets this grab up. THK in a very precarious position for Blank to deal with. Hasn't quite been spotted out either yet, so here comes that dead eye on top of the grab. Does find a good, decent enough angle to take both Trill and Kiki out. Now this is really dangerous for Blank. Blank got to reset fast. Blank got barely any time. This might be a map loss. This would be an awful way for Blank to start, especially when they actually still have abilities to use here. No one's going to be able to touch the point. This should be 199. Wow, look at that. Xavier with the start. Impressive beginnings, and this is not like what we saw from EXL and Talon, where that initial control point went 2-1 in favor of Talon. This is a 2-0. A 2-0 that you'd think would be fairly winnable for Blank, considering the starts that they had. Yeah, pretty favored. The opening fights were mostly going in the way of Blank, and then partway through, it seems to quickly fall apart. Blank would definitely need to regather themselves a little bit. Definitely not a good start for them. Great start for Xavier Esports. This isn't really something Xavier have been able to do against Blank previously. Blank were really just by and far outperforming Xavier last season, and now Xavier's come back very strong. Group B in general is just very strong. A lot of candidates for top 4 positions, Xavier being one of them. Really showing their mettle right now with the 1-0 lead with that Lijiang Tower pickup. So the fight's not over yet. This is still where you could possibly see Blank come back and finish the series 3-1, but it also means Blank are not going to get that 4-0 yet. They've technically got a 4-0 in the season so far. They did that last week against Incipients, but right now that's not going to happen. That's not going to be this series. It just seems really unfortunate for Blank. Xavier, of course, played extremely well in terms of understanding their timings. Coming back from behind is definitely a skill in and of itself. Kind of makes you think if EXL could have done the same thing. Coming out from behind, they tried to recover, but this is what real recovery looks like. This is when Xavier, as a team that starts off poorly in opening fights, does have to climb back in with this advantage at a deficit for objective, are able to do that, are able to find the key fights, win key fights at the right times, and twice Blank actually are not able to take fights at times that they'd like to, and because they lose members late enough at about the 90% mark, I mean, players can't respawn in time to touch the point, so twice in a row on Control, on Lijiang, across Night Market and Control Center, they do not get onto the point in time to be able to contest for the overtime, and it's just, again, well played by Xavier to dictate the pacing enough that being able to force a win condition at their ideal time and at an inopportune time for Blank is certainly the way to go for this Thai team. And already a great start. And this is, again, 2 rosters that have a decent number of World Cup players across them both. Really fighting to see who can take the lead here in Group B. Second map coming into play. It's going to be Eichenwalder, the second Eichenwalder we're going to see for tonight. This one's going to get picked by Blank as the losing team from map 1. And with their lineup tonight as well, there should be a decent number of options in terms of what they'd like to run. Kiki, you'd think, should be able to fit pretty smoothly into this Blank team. Roughly plays the same heroes as Huwu. The only thing that you might not see is, does Kiki pick up that hog as well? That's still up for debate. Maybe he does. Maybe we'll find that on Eichenwalder. We'll see. Hello again. As we're about to head into Eichenwalde. Here we go, map ready to go. And it is going to be the Arista Hog defense from Blank Esports. Kind of what we did expect, or rather we did cover. We kind of talked about this. Whether Blank would pull this out and whether Kiki would jump onto the Hog, the answer is yes. Now the next question is, how do they coordinate together? There's a lot of different ways for Blank to defend well here. Huss has the long range covered, has the overall hit scan covered. Difficult for Xavier to run something like a fire, which would be quite difficult for Kiki and Troll to deal with. CKM has got the air to ground covered, which means if Xavier want to run a ground-based composition, say a Goats comp, Blank have that ready to go as well. So they've kind of got most of their bases covered here, especially with Huss collecting the opening kill to THK. We might not even see a res, you might just see THK come straight from the spawn, but Xavier don't want to waste too much time, and if they are going to res, you should likely see them get into this opening push very quickly as well. This 50% for CKM already. It's a huge amount of ult charge. Kiki with the cleanup onto Olivier. No res this time. Definitely no res for Dreamer. Tay's in trouble as well. Full retreat for Xavier Esports and Blank. In a commanding position for these opening fights. Blank have always been in a commanding position for these opening fights in this series so far. They're going to continue that trend. Patty Pan going to go down. The trade is good, but the trade will be rezzed up by Kura. Dreamer's not going to waste enough. Okay, he does. Dreamer is going to res again. So again, Xavier is just not interested in waiting. They just want to go in, and that's something that you can praise them for. 30 seconds, or rather 1 minute already gone. Patty Pan with the Doomfist coming out, wanting to really counter out the Arista Hog if possible. Displacing Kiki is certainly a way to start. Kiki's in the middle of nowhere right now. Trill does get a counter kill onto Queen, unresable by Dreamer, who's currently getting Valk. Blank certainly still have tools to defend here. Trance available, and the Valk coming up for Kura means a lot of options, but they can only happen if members of Blank survive. So far, even with the Trance coming out, Blank have lost 2. Make it 3. And I'll be honest, Patty Pan on the Doomfist doesn't really care about Transcendence. He'll punch you into the wall, he'll collect that kill. Kiki with 1 response, but he's himself is just not going to last. It's going to have to be a full compositional change, or at least a large compositional change. Both tanks will likely have to swap off here. Xavier, Queen will swap onto the Winston. It's a respectable slowdown that Blank offered onto A. Again, good starts for Blank, but they need to be able to close out. It's this middle section of the game that Blank have been struggling so far to really put them in a suboptimal place to win the entire map. Self-destruct coming from Olivier, no dice onto that one. Patty Pan wanted to follow that up, himself punished. Now Blank take the fight to the cart in a defendable, very defendable position for Blank to play with. CKM now having free reign from the high ground, unchallenged by any of the Xavier members. Tanks of Xavier force them to retreat, force back to spawn, as they have to wait for THK to come back into the fray. Small time loss for Xavier East, also for Blank. They're in a good spot. They kept the cart stalled up. This is a decent flank from Padapan though. He needs to finish and confirm this kill onto Huss, or this is going to be a long goose chase. It doesn't end in much. Gets that kill straight away now with Meteor Strike. Not going to be too aggressive with it, just wants to get some utility. Finds Tongue so quickly as well. CKM does get a response, but this response isn't going to mean too much just yet. Troll's going to try and buy some time. There is a window where maybe CKM just throws the Dragon Strike out here, because it does appear like Blank are getting some members back in to be able to defend, but they are still coming in staggered. That is a bit of an issue. CKM with that Dragon Strike though is going to completely stop up that cut. Gets himself a kill within the Dragon Strike. I'm going to count the D-Mech within that, then cleans up 2 members afterwards. That Dragon Strike within itself though, after noticing that Olivier had backed off, did give Blank enough time and enough space to work with for their tanks to get position again, formation again, and another slowdown. So for Xavier Esports, back to square one somewhat. Not completely. Paddy Pan now as a Genji instead of a Doomfist. Which is probably a smart thing to do considering that Blank now have control back of this point. Blank want to take the fight directly to the spawn. To the choke, that is. Tay down. You're not likely to see too many members from Xavier staying up alive after that. I'll note as well that they do have ultimates to play with. And you'll see that Xavier didn't even get a chance to really pressure that payload. Blank just immediately forced them into a sort of suboptimal fight. Tay now coming in with the Lucio. This is almost a full traditional dive. The Dream is still going to be on the Mercy. Xavier going to go anyway. They don't care that the supports are down. They're going to try and look for counter trades, and they will find none. They're going to find a lot of death on their side. They're going to find a lot of staggers now. Is THK going to be the last one to respawn? Getting towards that 1 minute mark, and finally, you might start to see Blank really perfect this middle section. A hold here would be putting Blank in a very winnable position, but Xavier Esports, still time left, they still have opportunity left, and that's what they can get with the opportunity. This is a lot of opening kills. And Trill's in a bad spot too. He's got to make sure he can get himself alive, doesn't Primal Rage, possibly doesn't want to waste the ultimate, but at the same time, everyone on Blank's going to fall down now. I guess the good news is for Blank, they're going to hold on to everything. They're not going to lose ultimates in that fight. Happy to reset for the time being. They know that with about 30 seconds remaining, they can do a full commit onto this next section and still complete the defense. Does mean a lot of free progress though. It does mean Xavier do get the front positionings. Being pressured out. Dragon from CKM as well. Dragon itself doesn't find kills, but it is going to open up the point. Double supports take him down. Surely this is a winnable fight. Tung didn't Transcendence, which is a little unfortunate. He's probably wishing he did at this point because Blank need a bit of help. They need members. Kura's down as well. No supports available. Tung nowhere to be seen. Still trying to run back from spawn. It's up to the tanks. Kiki currently pulling weight. Trill definitely using Primal Rage this time around. Tung should be back into the mix at any point now. Transcendence now will definitely be a key factor for completing this defense. Oh, Trill going down though is not what you want to see if you're Blank. Xavier Esports are definitely still into this one. They don't have too many members, but THK, oh, he had a pole spawn. That is an unfortunate death. No res available. CKM with the second Dragon Strike. Kiki even gets a remake kill rather. That should be it. That'll be the full pulse finally completed. But man, Blank must have been sweating.
Pass into the
Victory Transcendence from Tung there. Probably didn't want to see that, to be quite honest. Probably wanted to see that a lot earlier. Definitely tricky for Blank. This is, when you look at when Blank were previously in control, where the cart was a little while back, about a minute and a half ago, still a fair way down that hill. Now it's all the way into the middle of this bridge section. It does make it somewhat more difficult for Blank to complete their push. It will depend on how good their A-point attack is. If they can build up a decent amount of time going into B, that's going to give them the foundations required to complete this B offense. A lot of teams will really start to slow down in the B section.
Game on.
Blank don't want to be that team.
Taking on.
Xavier need a very good defense on A to stop Blank here. They could possibly full hold. It's not impossible, but you'd like to think that Blank have the ability to adapt to any kind of hold that Xavier want to pull out, but Blank aren't going to be the team that will panic in a bad scenario. Stay disciplined, look for the appropriate win conditions, and then complete the A attack, even if it takes them until overtime. So you're unlikely to see that scenario unless Blank's attack just goes horribly, horribly wrong. For Xavier as well, though, the fact that they've managed to get the cart to B, to the end point of B, even onto the bridge, certainly makes this hold, certainly makes the possibility of them winning Icon Ball just that much higher. I mean, we're certainly not going to see a time bank anymore. Blank have made sure of that.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
needs to open up here. Blank gonna stay on the Orisa Hog for point 1. Point A. It's gonna be met with an Orisa on the other side. No Hog, though it's gonna be Olivier trying to counter things out with the Diva. The good news for Olivier is should be able to defense matrix the Holt coming out from Trill. You're only seeing the Queen being pushed back. This is something that Blank weren't susceptible to. Wow, hook from Kiki is going to demolish Queen. Not going to res that one either. This defense is already falling apart. I was going to say something you didn't quite see from Blank is they never got pushed back as quickly as this. With us going down, there may be opportunity for comeback here, especially with CKM down as well. Double DPS is now gone for Blank. Flank has opened up as well. THK is absolutely utilizing that. And with Blank onto the retreat, this is now giving away a lot of ult charge that Blank can't even help. They can't not give this away. They're trying to save their members. What members they do save are now having to wait for the tanks anyway. The positioning that Blank got for themselves now entirely gone. Dragon Strike available for THK. The perfect counter to a stationary setup from Blank's composition. You want to play a Orisa Hog? Well, now you got to play Orisa Hog into a Dragon. That's just going to get thrown out there, though. You don't quite see a fast enough response from Xavier. In fact, they get trapped. This is just not the response you want to see. I mean, Olivier kind of went in there after the fact that the Dragon was well and truly gone. Gets himself hooked in the face by Kiki, blown up and right in front of Blank. THK is going to try his darndest right now to save this defense, but if Kiki continues hitting hooks, I mean, Blank should still be in this. Note that Blank, despite not technically, they're not really having too much of a player advantage here. They might actually, well, they definitely do have a spawn advantage, so even if Xavier get even trades here, you've got to think for Blank, with their players coming in a little bit quicker, this should still be their attack tongue now with the transcendence as well. Plus gets his revenge onto Patty Pan. And another Dragon coming out, this time from CKM. Not really going to hit anyone, but you'd like to see it open up some space. THK's Dragon is also not going to hit too many people, but it is going to open up THK to collect himself a kill into Trill. Kiki also went down slightly earlier. With that, double tags con for Blank Esports. This is not looking as winnable as it was before. CKM's in a tough spot as well. THK's been the clutch player. Tongue knows, and Tongue's going to remove the problem. The head of the snake here. Does the rest of the reptile fall over? Because you'd say so far, Xavier Esports look committed to finishing this A hold. Dragon from CKM. It's got to buy some space, but it's not going to get them any kills. It's not going to open up the push they want. Gets a trade onto Olivier with CKM back up from the res. This is the player advantage that Blank really needs to push in. Kura's Falcon in there. Patty Pan looking for anything. He'd love to find something right now. THK, again, he was the clutch factor. He managed, unfortunately, to go down there to the bow of CKM, and this is probably it. This is now probably the push where Blank finally succeed. A valiant hold from Xavier, though. In fact, let's not count the chickens before they hatch. See if Xavier can still manage to complete this. They're not technically out of it. They still have counter trades. While they're getting a decent amount of counter trades, are Blank going to go down here? Is this it for Blank? Are they going to lose this A attack? Another Dragon from CKM, but another failed Dragon from CKM. There's not enough Blank members here. Kiki's going to try and go into the Soldier, but it's falling apart so quickly. There are just not enough members. Xavier Esports, despite trickling back onto the point, despite Blank having control of the point, it looks like Xavier will hold this. A full hold on A is going to complete Iconwater, is going to complete a 2-0 against Blank. A ridiculous opening. Well, this is not a good series for Blank at all, but a great one for Xavier Esports. And so many times you look at this Blank attack and you think, this looks like a push they could probably finish. They have the advantage here. We're in that stage of the game again where a decent start from Blank. They push Xavier so far back, but not far back enough that they can actually finish capping the point. And that's kind of what counts at the end of the day. Somebody from Xavier is alive and ready to make the comeback play. Whether it's THK, could be Paddy Pan. He did come back as a Doomfist, did collect in an opening kill on Takura in the penultimate fight that led to the Xavier victory at the end of the day. And this is the start of point where you got to start worrying for Blank. You got to start celebrating for Xavier. Things in Group B looking so much better for Xavier right now, who are really trying to climb in. They're currently in 4th place, technically tied in match score with Blank 1-1. Blank, who you'd expect as the favorite, 2nd place in Contenders Season 1 Pacific. Now possibly going to be dropping to 4th place in Group B. Still opportunity though, still opportunity for both teams. Xavier could close this one out 3-0. Blank could come back in with a couple of map wins. We could be going to a map 5. We're going to have to wait to see what happens though. Blank keeping us on the edge of our seats. And when we come back, the conclusion of Blank versus Xavier.